Hey everyone, wanted to talk to you for just a minute about how to use contact cement when gluing foam together. I've been helping somebody out with a little side project and they're restoring an old puppet. Puppet's about 10 years old and was made by somebody else, but this is a piece of the glue seam from the puppet. This is really excessive. There's probably a 1/4 inch of glue on here and every seam on the puppet was glued like this. That's not really the correct way to use it. It's also a part of the reason we're having to restore this. We're having to cut it all apart and glue it back together. 10 years and this is still gummy. It's still kind of gross. So wanted to take a minute and show you guys how I use contact cement to glue puppets together. First off, safety. I've got nitrile gloves on. I just don't like getting glue all over everything. The second thing is a good respirator. I'm actually working outside on a back porch right now, so I have pretty good ventilation here. But if you're working in a shop, a studio, or garage, make sure you have a good respirator and make sure your canisters are rated for chemical filtering, not just particulate. Like a house paint filter or a mask just removes particles. It doesn't clear out the solvents that are in the air. So you want to make sure you get a good carbon filter. This is the one that we use here. And that's it. Secondly, contact cement. So I'm using Barge right now. I use Barge, Dual, Weldwood, any contact cement that you get at a big box store or hardware store. They're all going to work pretty much the same. They're solvent based. They have a solvent, which is the chemical liquid that keeps everything liquid moving and thinned out. And then they have a particulate, which is the actual adhesive portion of it. And the way the contact adhesive works is you apply it as a liquid, you wait for the solvent to evaporate out, and then the particulates are what bond and stick together. So what happens when this sits on a shelf is the particulate settles and you just have the solvent on the top. So if you've ever opened a fresh can and used it right away and it's not working that well, it's probably because it's just using the solvent on the top and there's no real adhesive property to it. So always shake your can up. I'm going to rotate it, and I've been using this one already today, so I've been shaking it up throughout the day. But give it a good shake. If you have a regular can, you want to stir it with a popsicle stick or chopsticks or something, you can do that as well. Also, with contact cement, the consistency of it should be similar to thin honey, like a light-colored thin honey. It should be runny but not gloppy. If it starts to get real thick, or if you're pulling it and it's really kind of stretchy, pick up some thinner. This is thinner for Barge. It's Barge thinner. Masters makes a thinner that's good, a general purpose thinner on most other adhesives, and most adhesives have their own thinner brand as well. So, but it's worth having. You want to add this about a tablespoon at a time. Shake it up, mix it up, and then check consistency and keep doing that until you get the consistency right. So again, that should be about the consistency of light honey. One of the biggest problems with glue application is these contact cement cans come with a brush. If you use a brush and you're brushing on a layer, it means you're already putting on too much glue. It's not like a regular glue where you put a glob on and slam your pieces together. Contact cement, you need to coat both parts, and a brush is just too heavy. So what I'll do is I'll save scraps of foam like this, and I'll just cut little applicators like this. That way I'm only getting enough on there to really coat it. It's not a big, super soaked mess of glue. When I'm using my contact cement, sometimes I'll put it in a little cup or a little Tupperware with a lid. But if I'm in a hurry or if I'm working in my home shop, I'll kind of just do it this way, and you kind of have to practice this or you end up pouring it all over yourself. Anyway, just kind of get some on the end there. Put the lid back on. Oh, pet peeve of mine, please put your lids back on your glue all the time. Even if you're at your desk working and you've got it in a cup or something, put something over it. That solvent evaporates into the air and some people are really sensitive to it. And also, it wastes glue. I mean, if you were pouring it in a cup and then you let it dry out, then you got to throw it away and use more. So contact cement's got very expensive. So, all right, now we've got a couple pieces of foam here. And instead of brushing this on, I'm going to actually dab or stipple it on here. And you can see the little stringy parts of the glue there. That means that the solvent, or the solute, is actually getting on there, the adhesive. And you can see there's a light coating on there. And do the same thing on the second piece. And as you see too, I'm not going back to my can and redunking. Like, I'm not having to super saturate the dauber either. There's plenty of adhesive on here. So these are my first two pieces, and these are foam. You can see how light that is. There's not any of this. And then I'm also going to show you a piece on a piece of scrap wood I have here too, and I'm going to put a little more on here for that. Now, like if I'm doing a piece of like a mouth plate, this is birch ply that I use for my mouth plates. You don't necessarily have to daub this. You can actually go on there and kind of brush it on there with the foam. And again, just enough to get a good thin layer on there that's going to soak into the grain of the wood. And then we'll do another piece of foam here so that we can stick that together. And again, just enough so you get a layer on the surface. Those pores should not be full of glue. If you're filling up all those pores, you're using too much. Now, put my lid back on. The biggest problem with contact cement is people are always in a hurry, so they immediately want to put the glue on and slam the pieces back together. You know, and it's like, oh, just get it together. Doesn't stick. I better put more glue on. Try it again. Put more glue on. So you end up with a 1/4 inch of glue because it's not sticking. You have to give it a minute or two for that solvent to evaporate out. You really need just that particulate on there, just the adhesive part to stick together. So these have been sitting for a minute. And what's nice about contact adhesive at this point is you can really line your seams up. You know, you can take a minute and you can get everything lined up exactly the way you want it. And you have the ability, okay, I don't like that. Okay, I'm gonna kind of adjust that some more. You know, that one's not quite right there. Okay, good, I like that. That's a good smooth seam. Now, this isn't done. If I go and use this and try to do this, it's gonna pull right apart. So I gotta put it together. Contact adhesive is meant for contact. You need pressure. You need to take these and you need to pinch that seam together. You need to somehow get some force on there. And I usually just go right down the edges like this and I'll pinch it. And if you're only able to get on the outside, then you kind of pinch it this way and you go all the way down the seam. And then I'll try to go to the inside too. But what happens now is you've got a really strong bond, like a little bit of glue that's still not dry there. This is what happens when the glue's not dry, so we'll let that dry another minute. And that's the other side. But I mean, that's a good bond, and look at the difference between that and that. This is a really nice glue line with minimal glue. Now you go back to the wood, and same thing. We have we take our wood. Now say this is the edge of our mouth plate. We want to make sure this lines up really nicely. So we kind of line that up there. Like, well, it's not quite right. All right, I'm going to lift it up, center it a little better. Again, this is not done. We need to get in there and we need to put pressure on there. So we really want to pinch that on there and get that locked on. And now we've got our mouth plate attached. We've got a good strong bond with a minimal amount of glue. There was absolutely no reason for this much glue. So that's it. This went way longer than I thought it would. I hope it's helpful. And please be safe with all your puppet building. Happy puppeting, and thanks for watching.